Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be talking about legacy gifting and endowment creation. My name is Michael Serra. I'm the Director of Special Initiatives. I'd like to introduce Andrew Moncada from Citizen Effect and Stephen Wachter, President of the Colorado and Minas Gerais chapter. Today we will be talking about how individual donors win by potentially receiving tax benefits and good feelings from gifts made. Donor families can receive equivalent or enhanced inheritances, and POA wins by having new assets to use to enable and support the ongoing work of POA and its chapters. So it's talking about how different types of gifts that can be bequeathed to a chapter can serve as the basis for an endowment that will sustain your chapter's future work and your current programs. We will be talking about different approaches, different strategies, some ideas of what counts or what can be given in donations, what cannot be counted as donations. So just a general overview of these strategies that can help you craft your own fundraising strategies in the future. So, but first of all, I'd like to hand over the mic to Andrew from Citizen Effect, who will just give us a brief overview of your own work over the last week and just give us an update of what you're doing. Andrew?
Awesome, great. Thanks, Michael. And so everyone, thank you again for joining us today. The webinars, have been going by fast, but I am very happy to see how everyone has taken the tools and the ideas and the lessons learned and really implementing them into your fundraising strategies as we've been moving forward. So just to kind of highlight things and kind of share the success that you guys have been doing with everyone else. In addition to offline donations, checks that have been received for Lisa Martin out in Washington, D.C., and along with Glenn Allen out in Colorado, we do have some really good updates within the past few days. For example, Eloisa from Brazil had her happy hour last night, and the early word is that it's gone really, really well. And from her fundraising strategy and this event, she has, out in Brazil, raised over $615 in local Brazilian currency, and so we've been very happy to see how that's been going by. And so she complemented the happy hour with online outreach, and she'll be continuing to do so to really kind of engage her community. In addition to Eloisa out in Brazil, we have Brandon from Michigan, who has had some really good updates this past few days with his wine tasting and art auction event later in September. And the really exciting news is that recently he received word from Katie LaRoche to kind of help support him. Now Katie is is a Miss Michigan 2010 and also very involved and invested with the success of partners, and she's been willing to help Brandon and the Michigan chapter with this event later in September. And so that's been going really well. And in addition to that, we had Tracy from Kentucky, who a few days ago received word that to kind of help support her Ecuadorian food event in September, a local chef has provided an in-kind donation to provide her own cooking skills and her own restaurant to hold this event. And so really the great tools that everybody has been kind of learning about in terms of in-kind donations, fundraising outreach, different strategies in general has been going really, really well. And I look forward to, again, working with you guys beyond this program and even after the webinar on this upcoming Monday to really kind of support you and use the resources that we at Citizen Effect can provide to make sure this program is as effective as possible. So thanks again so much. And thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Andrew. And once again, please make sure you do take full advantage of the expertise, that that Citizen Effect brings to the table. This look at this as a very important resource that you have available to you that can benefit your own fundraising strategies for your immediate events that you're planning, but also long term. We also want to let you know that this platform that that Citizen Effect offers for fundraising is a tool that you should definitely consider to support your own outreach and fundraising efforts. It's a way of really engaging not just people from living in your states or in your cities, but from across the partners network and your own personal networks, so that they can support your work without even having to attend your events in person. Andrew, I don't know if you'd like to just give a quick example of the work that that Oregon will be continuing with you with the Citizen Effect, just as an example.
Yes, definitely. And so, out in Oregon, Donald Ruff from the Oregon chapter has been very excited and interested in using the Citizen Effect platform to continue supporting programs that they have going on in their Oregon chapter. And so, just recently, as of last week, we have launched a project on the Citizen Effect site for his wheelchair program. What they do in Oregon is they help support, fundraise for wheelchairs that they provide at-need communities in Costa Rica. And he also launched a high school exchange fundraising project on Citizen Effect as well. And so we are very excited to work with him on this, and we do also want to take this moment to kind of, again, open this opportunity up to the rest of you guys and your other chapters as well. If there are programs or projects that your local chapters are very interested in kind of supporting and would be interested in using the fundraising platform through Citizen Effect, we are more than happy to kind of take those steps to make sure that this is a possibility and make sure that we can continue supporting the great work that you guys are doing on each and every chapter out there.
So thank you, Andrew. And just a reminder again that next Monday at 3 p.m. we're going to have our final webinar. It'll be a type of graduation. We'll be sending out certificates to all of our participants, and I will continue to be in touch with you as you organize and plan your events. And if there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me and with Andrew to help you along the way. So without further ado, I'd like to now move on to today's presentation. Stephen Wachter from Colorado will be leading the presentation. Let's see. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm very well. I've been waiting for a drum roll. Just kidding. So, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, today, in talking about legacy gifting and endowment creation, I want to make sure that you understand that we're just doing this as a starting point. This is not a comprehensive presentation, but it's just some beginning thoughts and a general introduction to this whole area. This can be a little complicated and overwhelming, but can also be very lucrative. So hopefully what we present today and what you understand will lead to some questions and some general discussion going on down the road. Go ahead, next slide, Michael. Here we go. Okay, so what is this? And, you know, there's several terms for this. I said legacy gifting, endowment creation, but some people also call it planned giving or making bequests, and there's all kinds of fancy words that go with it. But in general, what it is helping people benefit their families, their favorite charities, reduce or eliminate money paid in taxes to the government and feel good about their money creating the greatest possible benefit. And now a lot of people get kind of uptight when it comes to money. They also tend to get uptight when it comes to dying. And if it's handled well and they have a sense of the benefits that can be generated, the whole process can be fun and pleasant and can actually produce a multitude of good feelings and goodwill. Next slide. All right. Now I put this in because I think there's a general misperception, especially with people involved with charities or nonprofits, that they need to find money from corporations and businesses and big foundations and institutions. The reality is 75% of charitable gifts are given by individuals. And so you all can do the math. How much does that leave coming from corporations and institutions? And in the whole nonprofit arena, you know, there is an incredible amount of energy and cost that's directed to raising money for corporations and institutions. And the general membership or the normal population is kind of forgotten about. So yeah, 75% of charitable gifts are given by individuals. And the other thing that I think is a huge statistic, 70% of the American households give to charity. Now, it may not be to your charity or our charity, but people support all kinds of things, from United Way to Scouts to churches. You know, there's just lots and lots of charities that get money from American households. Next slide. Okay, so in general, this program, as I understand it, with Citizens Effect, is about raising money, initially sharing with Partners International in DC, and some of the money for our individual chapters, and then ultimately benefiting more of our local chapters. Well, the concepts in this presentation are appropriate for both Partners International and local partners chapters. And you know, the basic mechanics are the same, and so hopefully you'll find this useful. Next slide. All right. Now this one hopefully will make sense, not be too complicated. There's really two basic types of gifts. There's unrestricted gifts, okay? And organizations love these kinds of gifts. The organization can use the money however they want. There's no restrictions. And this gives the organization a lot of flexibility. But, you know, when people give money in terms of planned giving or legacy gifting, a lot of them want their family name or some sort of identifiable mark for this money. It may be a specific project, and that gets us into the restricted area. These are gifts made with a specific type of project, activity, or benefit, and these are the easiest to get because they're attractive to donors, because the donor's name is usually attached to the project. Now, if you've ever looked at the partner's website under the foundation, there's several funds that are used to generate small grants, and this isn't all of them, but you know, there's the Dennis R. Shaw Memorial Scholarship, there's the Dr. Homer, and I forget the name of that one, and then the Madeline Lashover Endowment for Youth Education, Microenterprise, the Pashoti Literacy Fund. Okay, so those are types of restricted gifts. That's money that's been donated to the foundation to benefit specific projects. And like I said before, these kinds of things are attractive to donors, but they're not so great for the organization in a whole, in the sense that if the organization wants cash to run the operation, that money is not available. So in that restricted or unrestricted gift designation, you know, as you talk to people, you can kind of encourage them to go one way or another. But just be aware that there are those two types that can be used. Next slide. What inspires people to give? Okay, so to support causes and interests such as, and this first thing, the volunteerism, the types of things that get them going, the religion, art, science, education, blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of things that people are passionate about that makes them want to give money and support an organization who promotes their interests. The second thing I put, the tax benefits. That's attractive to bean counters primarily, and it's somewhat attractive to some donors, but the main thing that they are looking for are the warm and fuzzies or the sense of memorials and that kind of stuff. You know, especially in America, we always like to help the less fortunate. We hear the phrase, give back to the community. Lots of times there's personal or family memorials that legacy gifting can address. And it feels good to share, and it feels right to share. And all of those things are what really inspires people to give. Next slide. You know, Michael said earlier, if you all want to ask questions, you're welcome to do that. And so anyway, but going on, well-being and giving. Now this is just a little statement. I thought about putting this at the beginning. I also thought about putting it at the end, and it ended up right in the middle. But I think this is, from my point of view, this is a really important piece. Giving is an important aspect of human well-being. It is a profound pleasure to nurture and feed whatever organization feeds you. If you feel good about an organization and the benefits it offers, seriously consider financially supporting the organization. And in my work, and I've been doing this type of thing for the last 30 years, and it's really important, in my opinion, to focus on the pleasure that a donor feels when they can make a difference with their organization. Next slide. So, talking a little bit about the benefits, you know, the difference between legacy gifting and just trying to find cash is these types of gifts are normally larger, and you know, people are interested in getting some of the benefits that go just beyond donating cash. So what we do is use current structures and strategies that available under the law to maximize the benefits for donors, charities, and loved ones. Now, a lot of people just look at it as benefits for the donors, and the charities look at it as the benefits for the charities. But in lots of cases, the donor's family or loved ones can actually benefit significantly as well. Part of the benefits is reducing current income tax, and I could have put reducing future income tax. It's also possible and very common to produce additional income during the donor's lifetime. We can reduce estate taxes. Now, just so you know, under the current law, estate taxes don't kick in until there's an estate of $5 million. So for lots of our people, that is no longer an issue, where a few years ago it was $1 million, and a few years before that it was just $675,000 where estate taxes kicked in. But now at $5 million, that's not such a big deal. But of course, if you get an estate that you're working with that is over that threshold of $5 million, you know, that's kind of a fun thing to work with. And the other thing is leave a greater legacy for both the charity and the family. Next slide. Okay, who wins in all of this? Well, the donor wins with tax benefits and the warm and fuzzy feelings knowing that they have benefited a charity. The charity wins because there's revenue and there's There's assets to grow, to use in the future, which is what endowment is all about. And the family wins because there's tax-free benefits that come to them. The only entity that you might say loses, and they really don't lose because they do this to give people incentives to gift, but the government gets less tax revenue when charitable estate planning is done, when legacy gifts are made. The donor wins, charity wins, family wins, but the government just gets a little bit less in taxes. Next slide, please. All right, what can you give? Well, there's cash, and there is certainly a place for getting cash gifts in this whole process. Sometimes I refer to those as spontaneous gifts, where you have a fundraising drive and people just, give some cash from their normal income. You can also give marketable securities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that kind of stuff. And the ones that are most attractive to give are those that have made a lot of money over the years. For example, I have a woman that I work with who in 1943, she and her husband put $1,400 into telephone company stock. And here she is at age 93, and that money has grown to in the neighborhood of $175,000. She really wouldn't want to sell it because if she sold it, she'd have big capital gains taxes to pay. And so she could donate that to a charity, and they would have the money. She would get a big tax deduction and would not have to pay the capital gains taxes. You can also donate real property, and that's a house or building, farm, land, condo, technically probably timeshares also. But that's stuff that can be donated. Life insurance. Now this is actually a simple one. There's a lot of people that have old life insurance policies that are really just kind of a nuisance. And as they're kind of planning their estate settlement stuff, a lot of times just donating those old policies to a charity is a good way to generate a tax deduction and get rid of a loose end or kind of a nuisance for whoever's settling the estate to take over. It's also possible to buy a new policy and name the charity as the owner and beneficiary, and then the premiums you pay become a tax-deductible contribution. In some cases, business interests can be donated to charities, and this could be lots and lots of different things, and normally that process, as soon as the charity receives the business interest, they sell it and take the cash rather than continue on running the business. Artwork is another popular thing that can be donated, and there again the charity can sell it and raise cash, or they can keep it if they feel that it's going to appreciate. Jewelry is another one. Cars is another one. Airplanes, which I didn't put there. And it's interesting, years ago, the foundation, this is just my understanding, but I think it's accurate, the Partners of the Americas Foundation received a gift of a jet airplane that was then sold, and it raised something like $2 million, and that was used over the years. And so anyway, that type of asset can be donated. Antiques can also be donated, and again, there's a market for that, and they can be easily turned into cash. Next slide. What can't you give? And I thought about that, and there's really not too much stuff. Next slide. And who can help? This is kind of a complicated area, as you might have gathered. And if you have interest in it, you can talk to me and I can maybe direct you which way to go. You can also, in your own local communities, find financial advisors that specialize in legacy or charitable giving. There's also CPAs and estate planning attorneys who are wonderful contacts in terms of strategies and procedures. And once in a great while, they would be maybe even a source of potential donors. The other very helpful resource are community foundations, and these are local foundations around the country who actually help small nonprofits manage their endowments. And rather than each of us, like our small chapters, having to come up with our own administrative policy and staff for administering endowment funds, the community foundations can help out with that and provide a really valuable service and make it very, very convenient. So that's essentially all that I have. I didn't mean that it was going to be quite this short, but maybe that's a good thing. So any questions?
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and unmute our participants so that they can ask you questions directly. Hello, everyone. I'd just like to open the floor to questions. And I also do want to add that the story about how our foundation was started, it was actually Howard Hughes, the millionaire, who donated the airplane that's helped set up our foundation. So that's just an interesting piece of partners' history, and that we have. So I would like to ask you, Steve, do you know of chapters who have developed these kind of strategies to go after, I guess, legacy gifts?
Yeah, the only one that I know of, and I don't know lots about it, but I've talked to them a bit, is Wisconsin. And they have received some gifts, that have formed an endowment for them. Our chapter is just starting, and we've received a few little gifts, but they've been more of cash gifts, not legacy types of gifts.
Okay. And Yanni Lopez from Indiana has a question. Yanni, if you'd like to ask Steve.
Hey, Steve. Thanks
Hi,
for that
Johnny.
great presentation.
Thank
it's great
you.
to have your skills. Yeah. And I'm glad to have this opportunity because we've been talking about consulting you, actually. We're stepping into creating a plan giving program, limiting it right now only to contributions of appreciated stock.
Right.
And I picked up some guidelines and policy, policy guidelines from universities and the Center on Philanthropy. Do you have any tips, problems to look for, next steps? I don't know, but we wanted to start with the stock because we think that can be pretty straightforward. We don't need to pay advisors and lawyers,
Right.
as long as we make it clear.
That is a real straightforward area. I don't think there's any big issue, especially if it's just a normally traded public stock. The one thing that I would make sure is that they do have, they're in a profit position. If they're in a loss position, they would be better off selling it, taking the loss, and then donating the cash. But the only potential thing would be if it were a restricted stock of some sort. But if it's a publicly traded security, you won't have any problem at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's no doubt about this gift, but I want to be sure that we're also, as a board, we're kind of walking through this together and understanding some of those points. It's like
Right.
public is different from restricted and what you might get into. So that's good of you to mention. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, do you have any policy or guidelines that you recommend for like plan giving programs, asset?
Not really. I mean, you know,
Okay.
I think the thing that you need to be most clear on, whether it's going to be restricted money or unrestricted money, and you know, is your intention to keep it going forward as endowment money where you can take income from it to support your organization, or are you going to invade the principal and spend the principal? You know, and either way is okay. You just need to know which way you're going to go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ready for the endowment option. I think
Right.
we're still pretty much, you know, looking at current expenditures and building up our program, current war
Right.
chest. But that is good to have in mind, especially
Yep.
when we talk about plan giving as opposed to just one contribution.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
But it all starts with one. That's, pardon me?
Oh, I just said that's really cool that you guys are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a bit of inspiration for us.
Well, good.
And I just want to remind everyone that,
I think that's about it.
well, thanks, Yanni. I just wanted to remind everyone that it's always good to really search out the experts in our network on different topics. We've tried to put together, this webinar series as a real way of highlighting certain topics, but also the expertise that our network brings on these specific topics. For example, from Beth Alderson here in DC talking about her experience organizing some of this, the fundraising events, to Steve Walker talking about legacy gifting. So really, you can always get in touch with us here at the International Office with any questions that you might have. Say, well, we're thinking about putting together a legacy gifting strategy for our chapter. Who do you know in our network who can help us out? Well, we'd get you in touch with Steve in Colorado, and always make sure that you use the resources such as the International Office to do just that. Are there any other questions that you may have regarding donating stock, getting how you actually go about doing this? Yes, Eloisa?
Hello. Steve, I'd like to know if you heard of anything in the Southern Hemisphere, especially Brazil, since you work with Minas Gerais, that would be similar to what can be done in legacy gifting in the United States.
I have talked about this with our chapter in Minas Gerais, and the tax laws are a little different, but the principle still applies. And the Brazilian government has actually been reasonably supportive of charitable gifting, legacy gifting, but unfortunately I don't know the real specifics. But I think it's something that I would certainly pursue.
Okay, I'll look it up and I'll become the expert here in the Southern Hemisphere. I'll be just
legal.
Tá bom. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eloisa. And once again, Eloisa, in Rio de Janeiro, I really just want to recommend, get in touch with Steve if you have any specific questions. You can see his contact information right now on your screen, and I'll be sending out this presentation to everyone And once again, you will be able to listen in on the recording on YouTube, which will be posted on our website. Do you have are there any other questions for Steve regarding the topic? Or any other ideas that you'd like to bounce off of? Let's see. Well, it looks like we have, let's see. All right, well, Steve, I want to thank you for your presentation. I will definitely circulate your contact information to all of our participants, those who couldn't make it today. This is a very important topic for all of us, from the international offices right on down to our chapters, and I'm sure even some of our participants personally, on a personal level, to really understand how this process works, how they can ensure that they can continue supporting their chapter in the organization in any way possible. We will be looking at sharing this information online, as we used to with the newsletter, and really sharing some ideas on how we can continue making our organization that much more sustainable, supporting the projects of our chapter, supporting the work of our volunteers, and making sure that the impact is sustained for future generations. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Steve?
Well, I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to share this with you all, and I do totally agree that this is an important thing that our organization needs to go after, because it can just be a huge, huge benefit for all of us. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and we'll talk soon.
Excellent. And I know, Yanni, you'd like to add something?
Well, I just wanted to make a brief statement because I remember a role that Steve played at the last international conference in Ouro Preto in Brazil, in which he led, well, I guess it was 4 years ago, in which he led an initial seminar giving to international partners. I think one of the most important takeaways for most of us in the chapters is to know that there's somebody like Steve with his depth of experience and his commitment to seeing partners get involved in these kind of resources and garner these for longer-term survivability of our programs. I know that when we talked about it here, I immediately went to the fact that I could call Steve. It turned out I found things on the internet, like I'm talking about the policy guidelines. I found some expertise in a couple of members, and we mostly decided to just make a really limited first step, that we have very limited risk, and it's kind of easy to set up the policies and the process and the administration. But just knowing that Steve is there and willing to do this and help us, I think is really, really good. Everybody needs to take down his name and number and keep it in mind, because there really are assets out there. I used to be involved in the plane giving field, and it's kind of amazing, like the examples that he said, if you're ready and you keep your ears open.
Well, thank you so much.
Again, I appreciate that.
Well, and I just want to, off that statement, there is an amazing wealth of knowledge in a number of subjects in our network. There's experts in a variety of areas. And we are working right now to develop a database called Partners Connect on our website that will, we hope, make it that much more easier to share information, find out what other chapters are doing, and what individual expertise they have within their membership. So stay tuned for that. That's currently under development. It's called Partners Connect. You'll see that on the website very soon. Right now it's on there, but it's not live yet. And we will be continuing to develop these types of initiatives that help us become much more connected, help share information. And I want to make another plug for Citizen Effect. These types of platforms also serve to get the word out. By using these platforms, you will have more visibility online. You'll have sites that you can direct people to learn about your projects, and in so doing even fundraise directly or donate directly to your projects. So use all of these types of resources, tap into these tools, to this expertise. Don't don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We are here for you, to support your work. I'm just speaking personally. I handle many calls every day, every week, from volunteers across the hemisphere with these types of questions. And who can we get in touch with? Who do you know in the network? And if I can't answer that, then someone else in the office might have that information. So feel free to do that. Also, use us to support your own work. For example, we're helping one of our program participants to organize an event at an embassy here in DC. So we work with embassies, and one quick call helped open that door. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us and our experts and our network. So if there's anything else that either Steve or Andrew would like to add. Andrew, Steve?
I think we're good. Just think about this stuff. And if you have a question, call Michael, call me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think, and from over at Citizens Effect, I think, we're good to go. And thank you, Steve, for that presentation. Really informative. And definitely for the rest of the participants, looking forward to taking the next steps with all of you.
So, well, thank you both. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Steve. And we will be in touch. And thank you to our participants for logging on, for participating in today's webinar. And we will see you next Monday for our graduation. Please make sure you don't miss it. And thanks once again for your dedication and participation in our great organization. So until next week, we just want to thank you again, and we look forward to hearing more about your ongoing projects. So have a great rest of the week, and just to let you know, everyone here in the office is doing fine after the earthquake. But it was a quick shake, but everyone's pretty good. So see you or speak to you next Monday. Have a great weekend.